I was watching Dr. Phil the other day, and I seen a situation or something that they were speaking on. That's real. It been talked about a lot in the black community within the last 2 years. I don't know if it was talked about before that, but I know in the last couple of years, especially during the George Floyd situation, it really got big. It really got a lot of flame, and that's the defund the police movement. Now we gonna watch this episode together, and of course I'm gonna chime in. But before we get into that, I want to speak on this, and this is gonna be my fifth entry in the message to the black community. And the reason why I want to make this a message to the black community is because we hollering, and a lot of us in our community hollering by defund the police, which is the most stupidest thing that you could ever imagine. And what makes it so stupid is, first and foremost, where the most crime happens at is in the black community. So with the police being defunded, that's not going to affect nobody like it's going to affect the black people. In the hood is where all the crime, in the inner cities is where all the crime and stuff taking place. We need police more than anything. And and that's what they say. They gonna get into it, and I'm gonna speak on it. Like I said, I'm gonna let it play. We gonna watch it together, and I'm gonna chime in. And they speaking about how in certain areas, in the black areas, there's a lot of more cops. Why is that? Because in the inner cities is where all the crime is, and it's not. Of course you're gonna have guys. That's a lot. That's one of the main issues. Once again, like I said, in the black community, that started with the civil rights movement, which was a big mistake, by the way. If you don't understand why I'm saying that, go click the link in my description. I got a video, a lecture I gave on why the civil rights movement was a big mistake for the black community. But one thing about the civil rights movement, and like I said, at that time, I feel like it was needed to a certain extent. I don't agree with us forcing ourselves upon people which is what we did at that time. But we did need a voice, and at this point in time, we don't need a voice, but we still leading, having people lead us, and these people who is leading us, whether it be the celebrities, whether it be, because like I always say, for the 40 and under black, all they listen to is the celebrities, the athletes, the rappers, the actors, and the celebrities. And the 40 and older group, all they listen to is the Democratic Party leaders, the fake black leaders like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the black pastors, right? And all these people is about power and wealth. That's all it is. Not all pastors, but most. And all black leaders, that's what they're about, power and wealth. They do not care about the black community. And so what they do is they put forth a victim mentality on the black community and tell them, hey, this is why this is happening. Instead of telling them, no, it's not nobody else's fault why this is happening. These are the reasons why this is happening. And so, like I say, you're going to have a brother in here, of course. He's a liberal. And he gonna get to saying, well, why is there more police in the black areas? Because it's the most crime in the black areas, and it's not because it's low income, because you got parts of United States where majority Mexican, like say Pasadena, Texas, or a few parts of California where it's majority Mexican, is poverty stricken, look like a third world country, and it's no crime going on. I mean, it's crime everywhere, but the crime is low. Ain't no killing each other. Probably drug dealing and drug addicts and stuff, but crime is low. Same thing with the white community. They got white communities in the world who low budget, poverty stricken. They call them trailer park. You don't hear about them killing each other and going at war with each other. And they got crime once again. They got crime taking place in these areas as well, but it's nothing compared to the inner city where the blacks at. Where the blacks at, all these things are happening at an alarming rate, whether you want to admit it or not. This is a pro-truth channel, and I'm gonna be speaking the truth to the people who want to hear the truth, and not only hear the truth, because see, this is another issue that we have in our community, where all the leaders giving they telling you all the problem, they not giving no solutions. This is not only a pro-truth channel, this is a solution-based, solution-oriented channel. So I'm going to be giving you the solutions to fix these problems. And that's going to start, of course, with keeping families together. Fathers need to be in the homes. And before I get into that, and I said that to say, because you have people. So this is why you have cops more in the black communities. And then a guy also touches about, well, it's more black people in the penal system than anybody else. Well, why is that? We know that as a black man who used to live the street life, who still have dudes that I know in the street life, and as anybody that could anybody know what I'm saying is the truth. We will be in the streets. I'm talking about making money selling drugs or doing whatever we doing crime wise. And guess what? We will not have a lawyer. We will not have a lawyer on retainer. And most of us come from families that either one or two things. They either our family, black family, don't have always. Now I'm not saying it for everybody, but in black families, it's not everybody not gonna be wealthy in these black families. And so I might go to jail, and I'm gonna show you another thing about black. A lot of these dudes that's out here selling drugs and doing crime, they don't do nothing for their family. They don't care about their family. All they care about is worrying about women and buying clothes and all this food. And they don't care about their lawyers. And a lot of them don't even take care of their family, not even their mamas. And so when they go to jail, they don't have nobody to call and say, hey, I need a lawyer. Hey, and they can't call a lawyer because they don't have one on retainer. They don't live. A lot of black people in the community, they don't live with foresight. In other words, if I'm committing crime, I need to have a lawyer on retainer so I can have somebody to call. If I don't have nobody in my family that I can trust with my money, I'm going to have a lawyer on retainer, and I'm going to have my funds. I'm going to have him holding my funds. And so if something do happen, if shit do hit the fan, at least I'll be able to get on the phone and say, look, here, lawyer, I need you to take care of this charge I'm dealing with, and I need you to put this amount of money on my books and do these type of things. But they don't. And they can't get on the phone like these other races of people and say, well, hey, mom, can you do something for me? The mom I'm seeing the white community and all these other communities, guess what? Not only I had a white friend who used to sell drugs. He kept a lawyer on retainer, right? He kept a lawyer on retainer, and not only that, if something would have happened with him, his mother and his father had finances for him to be able to say, look, man, I need a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, white families and a lot of these other races of people, they will rally around. They'll rally around and say, okay, little Johnny needs a lawyer. We're going to all put in this and try to get him a lawyer. Not black family, because this black sheep of the black family, everybody talk about him. Nobody really like him. And so when he do have a demise and go to prison off or whatever, like I say, not only was he not, a lot of these Negroes don't do nothing for their family when they on the street, but when they go to prison, not only that they wasn't doing that for their family, a lot of them families don't like them anyway because they the black sheep. So they don't do nothing for them. So they don't have nobody to call. So this is why the penal system is filled with more black people than it is white people. And we also know the next reason. I forgot a percentage, but I think it's a 70 or 80% chance that a child raised without his father ends up in prison system at some point in his life. With race suffers from fatherless home the most. Once again, blacks. So these are the reasons why black people are more incarcerated than other white people, than other races of people. It's not a racism thing, but it's a issue in a community thing. And another thing I was telling somebody this the other day. A lot of time in our community, we trying to make our children be celebrities. We want them to be the next Michael Vick if they play football. We want them to be the next Michael Jordan if they play basketball. We want them to be the next Ken Griffey if they play baseball. We want to be the next rapper. Instead of sending our children to, and I've said this multiple times, send our children, right, to school to be lawyers, doctors, police officers. That way we could police our own communities because we understand each other better. A lot of times, these brothers is getting killed. Why is that? Because they get over aggressive. Because once again, the main issue, the main root cause, is they don't have a father in the home. So they got all this emotional energy in them from the mom and the grandma, right? They not used to no man telling them what to do. So when this officer, especially a white officer, is telling them what to do and how to do it, they get overly emotional, overly aggressive, and this officer is scared. Not justifying it. Like I said, I'm going to get deep into this as the video play, but not justifying the officer killing them, but the officer is scared. And at the end of the day, self-preservation is the law of the land. Anybody is going to protect themselves when they feel in harm's way, right? And so a lot of these police officers is not racist, but they get scared. And not only do they listen to the music we rap, they look at the news and every day and see how we killing each other like flies. And so they feel like if this is the way we live, hey, we scared of them because guess why? We don't know if he'll kill us. We don't know. So we gotta protect ourselves. So he acting overly emotional. He acting super aggressive, and next thing you know, a trigger is pulling somebody dead on the street, right? And that's because this young man was not raised by a man. He don't understand. He don't respect authority because we know that being raised by a mother is not gonna make you respect authority. Women are not authoritative figures. It just is what it is. And so these are the issues that we have in the community. And then we say, oh well, we're gonna defund the police. It's not a police problem because once again, like I said, defunding the police is gonna hurt the black people more than it's gonna hurt the inner cities more than it's gonna hurt anybody. Because people in the white neighborhoods, these other neighborhoods, anytime they having an issue, it's probably domestic disturbance or something real petty. They don't have crime going on in their neighborhoods like that for the police to be involved, right? And so the inner city saying defund the police was one of the stupidest, dumbest things that they've ever did, but they did that out of emotion, right? Because they felt like situation that happened with George Floyd was a police issue. It's not a police issue. Dealing with, you got to deal with these situations on a case by case basis. The situation with George Floyd, if you ever watched the video and not just the news, and after you did your research, actually went on YouTube and actually looked at the video, this brother was asked multiple millions of times, get in the car, do it right, did it. The cop prickly begged him. And listen, man, cops is human beings. People like to play like cops is some god or some immortal person. Cops are human beings too. They got feelings too. And they get in situations where they feel like they get upset and they act out of emotion. That situation they had with George Floyd, you not gonna tell me, and I stand on this on the rooftop and say it. That cop did not want to kill George Floyd. And you talking to somebody who been in this situation multiple times. That cop did not want to kill George Floyd. That was not his intentions to say, you know what, today I'm going to kill a nigger. That's just not how that worked. That's not what happened. But what did happen is this. Because you got to understand what police go through just to get on the police force, for one. Not only do they go through this intense training to get on the police force, while they on the police force, they got all these benefits. Not to mention, if they kill somebody, they got to deal with a lynch mob. They not safe. They family safe. All their benefits gone, and in some cases, they can be in prison. You think that they gonna put all that on the line just to kill a black person? Like, let's start using our brain. That's one of the main issues in our community. We too emotional to the point we don't think. These cops don't want to kill black people like that. And even the one that is racist. Because they do have cops that's racist, but they don't even want to kill no black person because why? This is too, the collateral is just too much. They lose their career that apparently that they love to do for whatever reason. Who knows? Who cares? But they love their careers, benefits, and now they plastered all over every social media, news media of killing a black person. Now they not safe. They children not safe. Just to say they killed a black person, their career down the line and everything. Like, just use your head. That's not what it is. But these people are scared, bro. These people are scared, bro. And so, and the issue with that is, it's not a police brutality issue. It's not a defund the police. This is not the issue that's gonna help the black community. You can defund the police, the black community gonna get worse, right? But I'm gonna let this guy speak. I'm gonna let the episode play, and throughout the episode, I'm gonna chime in.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil. Defunding the police.
It's a complete disaster. There's chaos at night. There's fires, there's shootings and stabbings. We don't have enough police.
Helpful cause?
People will do desperate things in order to survive. You're not solving anything by arresting those people.
Or harmful ideal. We're not trying to win an argument, we're trying to solve a problem. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, well, just as you said, Dr. Phil, one of the things that I thought was quite confusing from the beginning was when you say defund the police, depending upon whom you're talking to, it means different things to different people. So some people would say it means divest and invest in other areas. Some people say it means abolish. And so we needed to at least have a clear definition to...
I want to pause right here And this is what the BLM movement was going in the by large man. I mean, I'm sorry, the black lesbian. I'm sorry, I mean the Black Lives Matter movement. This is what they were saying. They was all about abolishing police. Um, when I, and abolishing the police, then they end up narrowing it down to defunding the police. But my thing is, we need to get these police more help because police basically is like the human garbage disposal. Their job is to get rid of the garbage wherever it's at, right? And a lot of time I think we should instead of defunding the police, I think we should add more funding to the police to be able to get them education on how to deal with certain situations. And once again, in our community, in the black community, we need more black police. So black police can deal with black people. Because they understand their own kind. They understand the family issues, the domestic issues, and just the issue that go on in the black family. Why is that? Because they black. And all black families go through the same thing. Some might go through it more than the other, but all black families go through the same thing. Right? And so, you know, I think that they should give more funding to the police and let them take certain classes, let them take certain situations and understand, okay, listen, this person that you might deal with might be over aggressive because of his upbringing. That doesn't mean he want to attack you. So before you just hurry up and grab your gun, maybe grab a taser, maybe take another step, or maybe call backup. But let's help them. But these people are not trained. They go through intensive training on safety, intensive training on tactical issues, but not intensive negotiation purpose. This is why if it get real bad or they have a hostage situation, they always call a negotiator because that's what his job is, to be able to negotiate with the person who have the hostage. And so a lot of these police officers, they not the smartest people in the world, right? I mean, they know how to be. The intense training that they go through is about safety, but it's not about being able to delegate a situation instead of going to violence. It's arrest, and if I can't get the cuffs on you peacefully, somebody end up getting hurt or tased, and they should be able to be trained more in situations to the point where that's not the first thing. Maybe we can now I do add this too. They have to protect themselves. And you go to a situation where somebody highly intoxicated to the point where they don't understand English, well, then you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself, protect your members of your force, and protect the person from hurt other civilians as well. But I'm saying I think that funding should be added instead of defunding, and the violence is just completely asinine.
Actually figure out what are we talking about when we say that. I do think that, as I've heard many times before, people want, when police respond, they want officers to be fair and just and have equity. The melanin in your skin should not determine the service of police service that you get. However, the facts bear out that there is disparity. So we need to find.
Listen. What she just said, I want to say something on that. She said that you should not be judged on the melanin of your skin. Let's be honest. What she's saying is the truth. You shouldn't be. But we understand that in the community that we live in the world that we live in, people will judge you off of appearance. Is it fair? No, it's not. But this is what it is. This is why I tell my black men and sisters, everywhere you go and everything that you do, you represent and you reflect the next black man or black woman who comes after you, right? And this is why everywhere we go, on the job site, at the restaurant, wherever we go, we have to change the narrative. I'm not saying you have to bootleg. I'm not saying you have the kid's butt, but you have to change the narrative, right? And so, yes, she right. You shouldn't be judged by the melanin of your skin, but we have to understand the facts, right? We have to understand that black on black crime. You got to understand some of these areas. I believe in Chicago, they had 700 murders this year, and in these black inner cities, in these major cities like L.A., New York, Atlanta, bro, the murder is so outrageous with black on black crime until it just doesn't make any sense, right? The rappers, no other genre of music. No other genre of music that when you cut the TV on every day, a rapper is either being murdered or arrested for something stupid. Situation like what Young Thug going through right now. Bro, you is a millionaire. Why are you involved in street activities? Why are you putting yourself on the line? Why I don't I mean I understand your name Young Thug. So guess what? You was living up to your name. But listen, you is a multi-million-dollar dude. You got generational wealth and you in the street and making shots to get people hurt and just all kind of foolishness. You're not making shots to get white people hurt. You're not making shots to get black people hurt. You're not telling people that, oh, you in the text messages that you saying y'all getting soft, y'all ain't shot them niggas yet. You ain't saying this about, and I'm not advocating violence against no race, because I, like, once again, I look at all men as the same. I look at people out of the eyes of Christ, so I don't judge people by their race. So I want to be clear what I'm saying. But none of these people is nobody. Young Thug is nobody that was in situation with Young Thug case was a white person. They never was talking about killing no white people. None of these people talk about killing white people. None of these rappers. So all these rappers rap about killing their own race. We look in the inner cities across the United States. Black on black crime is at an all-time high, right? We listen to the music. We see what's happening with rappers, million-dollar dudes, right? They constantly getting killed or going to prison. And so people judge, bro. That's just the way it is. People judge. So you saying, oh well, you shouldn't judge people on that. Listen, that's a circular arc. That's a circular conversation that goes nowhere. People get judged. Black people judge black people. White people judge some white people judge people off the way they look. That's just the way it is. That's why it is what it is. So when you dealing with tattoos or you dealing with your actions or wherever you go, just understand that wherever you go, you will be judged. And sometimes you will be judged just off of your skin color, just off the melanin in your skin. That's just the way it works in the world. God, man is man, and man is not God. And so you will be judged. God judge you by the content of your character. Man judge you by how you look. That's just is what it is. It just is what it is. And so you got these cops going to these neighborhoods or wherever they call, and guess what? When they pull up and they see so and so with dreadlocks and gold teeth and tattoos all on their face and neck, and this is the protocol of the person who committing all these crimes. This is the protocol of a person who making this kind of music. Hey, it is what it is.
And a path forward to reduce that disparity, to eliminate it, but also recognize that we've made a lot of movement and advancement, and we need to continue to work on that in a practical manner that makes all of us here safer.
When we're talking about a society where 1 in every 1,000 black men can expect to be killed by law enforcement, we have not made progress. When we talk about
I would take those statistics and I'll put them to the fire. I don't believe them. I'm gonna show you why. Clearly we know. This is just common sense. So you said 1 in every 1,000 black men can be killed by police. Then that means that 1 in every 5 black men can be killed by another black man, and the numbers might be but mama might be less than that. Let's be honest, man. Like I say, this is a pro truth channel, man. I know a lot of people might not agree with what I'm saying, but the people who have common sense and a working brain will. Listen, man. In our community, bro. I'm gonna use it like this. Now I will use this analogy. The black community is the house. Right? And the leaky faucet is police brutality and white supremacy. That's the leaky faucet. But you got a fire in the bedroom, and the fire in the bedroom is abortion, which is we lead, black on black crime, fatherless home, which is fatherless homes, is a whole plethora of other issues that go on in the black community. And so the black community being the house, police brutality being the leaky faucet, the fire in the bedroom is abortion, black on black crime, fatherless home, which once again brings a plethora of other issues, right? And so with that being said, listen, man, the word in the black community is not a police brutality. I've been pulled over by the police so many times I can't even count. Even when I was in the fallen state. Even when I was drugging and thugging, living that street life, I never had an issue with police. Why is that? Because I know how to deal with the police. The police is an authoritative figure. In other words, that means that you're supposed to do what they tell you to do. They tell you to get out of the car and put your hand against the window. You don't tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing. If you feel as though that they doing something that they shouldn't be doing, which I'm sure you don't know because you're not a police officer, but if you are aware of something that they doing that they shouldn't be doing, what should you do? Oh, I'm a hold court on the street, argue with them and tell them what they should. That's not gonna never work. That's not gonna never work. The police is an authoritative figure. If you got children, that means you an authoritative figure over your children. If you tell your children what to do, whether it's unfair or not unfair to them, when they go against you, what does that do? Does you change what you saying? Does you say, well, you know what, maybe I no, you an authoritative figure over your children, and so they supposed to do and they will do what you say, whatever it takes. And that's the same thing when you pulled over by the police. When the police pull you over, right? At that particular time, they are an authoritative figure over you. So if they tell you to get out of the car and get on the ground, get out of the car and get on the ground. And guess what? If they telling you and they doing something that's wrong, first of all, they have body cams. Get their number, get their badge number. You can't remember their badge number, get their name, right? Which they gonna and you ask them if you say, well, I need your badge number, your name, and if they arrest you and you go to jail, that's gonna be on the paperwork. If they write you a ticket, all that information gonna be on the paperwork. Get that information and you report them, and I promise you, I'm telling you what I know, they will be investigated. And if they come up wrong, reprimand will be taken. But do not hold court on the street, bro, because you not gonna win. Worst case scenario, go to jail, but don't die on the street arguing with the police. And so she say that 1 in every 1,000 person is a 1 in every 1,000 black man can be or will be killed by a police officer. That can be avoided. If when the cop pull us over, we do what we say, we do what we told. And I understand sometimes people be under the influence, and when you're under the influence, you're not yourself. And I'm, in a situation like that, well, just God be with you. But you shouldn't be operate in a motor vehicle under the influence. I understand, once again, nobody perfect. We make mistakes. But one thing that you have to learn in life as an adult, that oftentimes you will have to pay for your mistakes. And sometimes paying for your mistakes may be a small thing, and sometimes it may be big. But when you're dealing with the police officers, that 1 in 1,000 that she claimed will be killed or can be killed by a police officer, we can avoid that by simple following direct verbal orders. And if you feel as though you're being treated unfairly, instead of holding court on the streets, get badge numbers, get names, get numbers off police vehicles, and you report that. And take my word for it, it will be investigated to the fullest of the law.
A society where black folks in particular make up the majority of people that are profiled, targeted, incarcerated by our criminal legal system. We are not talking about.
Let me rewind this, brothers and sisters. Let me rewind this real fast, because the reason why I want to rewind this, I want to see this woman's credentials, and I want to show y'all something that I said earlier in this video. So let's see here. This is Kat Brooks. She is a co-founder of Anti-Police Terrorist Project, right? Remember what I told y'all about the fake black leaders, right? Which is what she quote unquote is. Instead of being somebody who's saying, look, we got issues that we need to fix, starting with keeping fathers in the home, to teach children authority, to respect authority. Men teach children to respect authority. I remember coming up with a lot of my friends, man, and we would get caught up with the police sometime here and there. And guess what? Every time we got caught up with the police, I was the one who would respect authority and either talk us out the situation, or we might go to jail sometime, but I was the one who always kept it cool, because my friend was raised by women. They would get overly emotional. Sometimes they would run. I would never do that. I would either stay there, talk to the police, and like I say, sometimes me talking to them didn't get me out of it, but a lot of times it did. And it still works to this day. There's a lot of times I done got out of tickets because of the way I talk to the police. There's a lot of times I done got out of other things because of the way I talk to the police. The police are people. And instead of this woman telling us as a community, hey, listen, we need to learn how to respect the police as authoritative figures. We need to keep fathers in our homes so that fathers can teach the children to respect authority. We need to follow direct verbal order when the police pull us over. No matter what he say, do it. And if it's wrong, follow up on that situation after the fact. No, she's a co-founder. She's telling you that, hey, anti-police terror project. The police are terrorists, and if you black, they're gonna terrorize you, and 1 in 1,000 of you will and can be killed by the police. It's nothing that you doing wrong, black man or woman. It's the police fault, and this is why, as a black community, we in ruins because of people like this.
We have not made
A big mouth, all a whole bunch of a big mouth of everything to say with no solutions.
progress. When we talk about a society where black folks in particular make up the majority of people that are profiled, targeted, incarcerated by our criminal legal system, we are not talking about progress. Some things that I do want to address. Actually, there was not confusion.
Let's go back, brothers and sisters. Man, this is the issue, man, with our community, bro. When we don't fix it, man, we on a time. We on a ticking time bomb before our whole community is just in, because it's already in ruins. It's already we already in bad. Not all, but most of us already in bad situations. We can't even make it to stardom and not have issues. We gotta make it to stardom and move away from our own people because we'll be getting robbed and we our worst enemy. It's not nobody else's fault, but it's people like her who in positions of leadership over the black community who telling black that, hey, it's not your fault. It's somebody else. It's either the white man. It's either the police. It's either this. It's either that. It's not your fault, black man or woman. It's everybody else's fault. And long as you continue to focus on everybody else, your problems will never be fixed. But I want to listen to this key point she about to say because I want to go back to that because I mentioned this already in this video, but I want to go back to it and say it again because people like her don't understand and people who listen to her don't understand. For the people who follow my channel and listen to me, I'm going to give them an explanation for this answer for this problem that she so say is the issue.
Progress. When we talk about a society where black folks in particular make up the majority of people that are profiled, targeted, incarcerated.
Why is that? Where is more crime happening at? As I said in the beginning of the video, the inner cities of every major city, small city, in between city, the inner city where blacks populate the area most is where the most crime happens at. This is not no me saying this. This is not no, oh, that's how I feel. This is not no, this is facts. This is facts. So wherever the most crime at, that's where the most police gonna patrol at. Wherever the most crime, let me say it again. Wherever the most crime at, that's where the most police gonna stay at. It's not because, well, I'm gonna get off into that later. Why is it that more black people in jail than white people? Because once again, it's not so much that we commit more crime than white people, which we do per capita, meaning we only 30%, we only 13% of the population in America, yet we account for 50% of all crime. That's half of all crime in America is done by black people. When we only 13% of the population, that is crazy, but it's facts. So that's not only the only reason why most of us is incarcerated. Most of us is incarcerated because we don't believe in having. We believe in committing crime, but we don't believe in having money saved for a lawyer. We believe in committing crime, but we don't believe in having lawyers on retainer. I know dudes who sell all this drugs and got multiple cars, jewelry, and all that. And guess what? They go to jail and gotta sell all that just to get a lawyer, just to get money on their books. They don't believe in having a lawyer on retainer. They like to spend their money on having things to, once again, I've spoken on this before, to flex on other black people. They don't care about, say, man, one day this might come falling down. I need to have me a lawyer on retainer. I need to have somebody I trust with some money, whether it be a bank account. Well, you don't want to have in a bank account because you're selling drugs. We know what's gonna happen with that. But have a lawyer on retainer. Have him holding your funds. He'll hold your funds. These lawyers is just as have, but blacks don't do that. And then when they go in these situations, we know most black families don't really stick together like that. And if you selling drugs, you probably the black sheep of the family anyway. And so when you go to jail, you don't have nobody to call. Whereas these other races of people, they have somebody to call and say, look, can you give me a lawyer? And if the family can't, if his mother and father can't afford him a lawyer, they got uncles, they got aunts, they got grandparents. Somebody gonna come together with the fund to get little Johnny a lawyer, to get little Jose a lawyer, but not black. Little Tyrone, he stuck out. He don't have no family. And when he was on the street, he didn't do right by his family. So his family don't feel like bending their back over to do nothing for him. Because when he was on the street and he was doing his thing, he didn't care about his family. He didn't help his family out. He didn't go by his mama house and do stuff for her. He didn't go by his aunties and uncle house and do stuff for them. He thought he was hot. He thought he was hot shit. And so now he in a situation, and that's how they handle him. We have no unity in the black community. We don't even have unity in our own family. So this is why we take up more space in the penal system, not because it's racism. And another thing with that, like I said in the beginning of this video, we need to start sending our children to school to be judges. Why is that? Because when you have a judge who majority of the time is white, it's not that he is racist, but it's a culture thing. When he see a little white boy in front of him, he automatically have a compassion inside his heart. Why is that? Not because he's racist, because people are going to have compassion for somebody who look like them. Because when he looking at this young white boy standing in front of him, hey, that remind him of his son. That remind him of his grandson. That remind him of his nephew, etc. Right? But when he see a little black boy, you don't know what he see. He might see the little boy who robbed him, or he might see the little boy who dating his daughter that used his daughter all up and ran through her and just ruined her life. Because I done seen a lot of black men do that. Go date these white girls and just use them for everything they got and run their life all the way down. And the white girl love every minute of it. So I ain't saying nothing about it. But the daddies and the grandparents don't be liking that. And you got a lot of white people, they not racist, or they wasn't racist, but after the situation that they daughters went through with a black dude, they just don't feel, and you never know what this judge going through. And so then again, you might can say it's racist, but it's not always. Sometimes it's just the simple fact that, hey, he gonna go by the book with somebody who don't look like him, but somebody who look like him, he gonna have compassion. But if we had more judges in place, the same thing would happen for us. You would have black judges who would look at young black men and understand where we come from, because maybe he came from the same thing. He would understand that, man, this young man come from a fatherless home and he really didn't have a chance out the gate, just like I didn't, but I overcame and somehow was blessed to be a judge. Because, a lot of people overcome those fatherless homes, but, a high percentage of them don't, but they got people who do overcome those fatherless home type situations. And so you might have a judge, and now he's a judge. Now he didn't have a father, so he understand why this young man took the decision and took the path that he took, because, he didn't get a fair shake, meaning he didn't come in this world with his father and his mother, and so he would be more lenient on him. He would be able to in some situations perform nepotism, right? Like these other races do for their people. But no, we trying to get our children to go be NBA. We trying to get our children to go to the NFL to take care of us, instead of going and do something that can be beneficial to their own people. So that's why most of us is in prison versus other races, ma'am.
By our criminal legal system, we are not talking about progress. Some things that I do want to address. Actually, there was not confusion about what defund means until law enforcement inserted that confusion. What I can say is that organizers, creators of this movement were always very clear that it was about redirecting resources to things that actually keep us safe.
Well, it might have been clear in the conference room. It might have been clear when y'all were meeting about it, but it wasn't clear on the streets, and it wasn't clear with all the people that took up the message and found a camera to stand in front of. Because I can show you 1,000 images that have the word abolish. With defund. So the message got hijacked is my point.
When you're saying suddenly we see people talking about abolish, well, defunding comes from an abolitionist perspective, right? It is a long-term project that says, how do we create the conditions under which policing would not be necessary? And defund is the policy that says, well,
Let's look at this brother here. Let's see who he is. Michael Denzel Smith. He is a writer, a fake activist, podcast host. Now we know activists, especially in the black community. I don't know about these other communities, but in the black community, an activist is somebody with a loud mouth and no solutions. And as you see, this brother, I'm almost positive. Well, if I already watched it, so this is what this brother. He gonna go in a bunch of I gotta make a name for it because I gotta make a name for it. But he gonna go in a bunch of theatrics. Now I call it theatrics because what is a theater? A theater is something that we go to look at and to enjoy ourselves, clap. You know what I'm saying? And to and he gonna go into a whole bunch of theatrics, just a whole bunch of stuff where a bunch of black people can say, yeah, man, you're telling the truth, man. But guess what? None of what he's saying is true. None of what he's saying is beneficial to helping the black community. All it is pondering. Pondering with no solution. Lies. Right? And these are the people who are activists in our communities. We wonder why we wonder why it's been no change. Right? And in some situations it's getting worse because of guys like him. This is why. And they put a little fancy name on it. I'm surprised he don't have PhD or something like that on the end or the beginning of his name, because guess what? That even makes it worse. So he got the PhD, so we gotta listen to him. Just like a lot of these athletes and celebrities, they good at dunking a basketball, so we need to listen to what they say about activism. They good at throwing touchdowns. Like, it's just a bunch of foolishness. People should have common sense. It's time out for all that. Like, that's children. That's a childlike mindset. You know what I'm saying? For somebody to want to ponder to you, and you can know that the pondering you can know that the pondering is not helping you. It's not beneficial. It's not true. But it sound good and it make you feel good, so you gonna roll with it. Now he's gonna go in a bunch of, like I say, theatrics about, it's this, that, and the third. But he's never gonna say, hey, you know what? We need to have our families together. We need to have nuclear families, and so that way children will have the same amount of energy coming from the father and the mother. The mother is the nurturer. The mother is the sweetness, and she a woman bring a house together like nobody else. But the father is the authoritative figure. He's teaching discipline. He brings structure, and this is a lot of children today don't have that structure. They don't have that discipline. They don't have that authoritative figure in the home, because a woman is not an authoritative figure. I know a lot of women gonna look to that and say, not agree with that. Oh well, it what it is. Facts are facts. The community is in shambles because they are being raised by black mothers. Am I blaming black mothers? Not all the way. The more the blame go to the black man. I always say that because, hey, men love to holler about they king, black king. You're not a black king if you're spreading your seed recklessly, leaving these women to raise children alone. So I'm not bashing the black women. I'm bashing the black community. And the man has to take more of that bashing than a woman, because a woman cannot get pregnant without a man, and so these men are leaving these women alone to raise these children. So I wanted to just put that out there as a disclaimer, because a lot of times these dudes want to blame the woman. Hey, listen, she could have got an abortion. She could have took a contraceptive. No, I don't. I'm pro-life. I'm against all that. We would have families together. Now, what I do blame the women for the men who they allow to inseminate them. If you allow Pookie and Ray Ray to inseminate you, in other words, a dude in the streets, what do you expect to happen? Do you expect him to change because he inseminated you? No, it's just not going to happen that way, ma'am. It's not going to happen that way, sweetheart. And what's going to happen is, by you reproducing with a degenerate, you're going to produce a degenerate by default. Why is that? Because majority of the time these women can't afford the situation they dealing with, because they didn't had all these children out of wedlock. So where they raised at? In Section 8 housing, which is majority of time in a bad, low income neighborhood, quote unquote the hood, quote unquote the inner city, quote unquote the area where he's about to talk about. And so this is why there's more police in these areas, because guess what? All these children are being raised without their fathers. And there's a bunch of foolishness going on in these areas because it's nothing but women and children. right? And so I'm gonna let him finish, and I'm gonna chime in.
A city budget has this much money going to police and this smaller amount of money going toward roads, towards housing, towards schools, towards recreation.
Why do you blame what's happening to Seattle on defunding the police?
I think people do misunderstand that word, and it's right there with abolishing the police. Once city council started talking about defunding the police, hell broke out. It's unsafe here. We've lost 300 to 400 officers. We're in crisis, and I think we're doomed. I don't even know if we can get back to where we were.
Well, Mark, you say San Diego is down 300 officers.
Yes, that's correct.
Has it had an effect?
It's been a horrible effect. The defunding plan has failed. It's a complete disaster. Our police are less safe, and the neighborhoods that need police the most are the ones that most affected, because it's the neighborhood.
He's 100% correct. Of course, areas where that need police is going up worse by defunding the police, which is a lot of police resigned over the last couple of years because they can't even do their jobs. Because they can't do their job because they so scrutinized and judged and talked about to the point where it got to a point where a lot of these people, a lot of these officers, they got their time in, or some of them, And I had a friend, she's a lady, and she said, I just had to let it go. I had to let it go. It's a white lady, because it was just getting too much, especially for white officers. And their job is being scrutinized. It's too hard to do, and they was letting it go. And not only was they letting it go, a lot of people who probably grew up and wanted to be police, changed their mind about it in all communities, in all races. You know what I'm saying? Because over the last couple of years, police have been demonized, right? And so, of course, these areas are gonna get worse. And like I said, the areas who need the most policing, right? They're showing you just how stupid some people are and how people don't think things through. The areas that need the more policing, which is the inner cities where a majority of black people reside, is the same area that's saying defund the police. And so, in this particular guy's area, what he say San Diego, the defund police movement have been a disaster, and that's common sense. Common sense.
That are underserved, the underserved populations that need police. They can't afford to pay for pricey private securities or high-end surveillance cameras. Those are the people that are suffering, and make no mistake about it. Defund means take away money from police. They were already running on tight budgets anyways. They didn't have enough money to do proper training. Officers have to have training. If you don't want the things to happen that you're claiming happens, then you have to train officers properly, and you have
$1 bazillion dollars in training, $1 bazillion dollars in cultural competency training, $1 bazillion dollars in body cameras, $1 bazillion dollars in all these things.
See what I'm saying? That's another thing about it, man. These women need to get out of the way. These women need to get out of the way, because this is what they do. They all about emotion. They angry, and they have ulterior motive. It's not really about what they talking about. It's other things deeper than that needs to be spoke on that they're not speaking on. And what happens is they use these type of situations to express their anger, when once again she's a loud mouth with no solutions, and she's super wrong with everything she's saying, and disrespectful. Instead of letting the man speak like he let her speak and let everybody else speak, she interrupts him. This is another problem in our community. People like her.
Nothing has
And
spread out.
crime
And
is
I'm
up.
wondering
Your
which plan,
program
because
made
the vast
crime go
majority of
up.
American
Your
cities
program
have
made
not
crime go up.
defunded.
Yes.
It just has
No.
not happened.
Crime has gone up.
The
Violence
system is true. Defunding has just not happened.
They never wrong. They never wrong. A lot of these black women, I'm not trying to blast black women because I love black women. I only date black women. I'm gonna marry a black woman. But my thing is this here. When you put these women in these positions, women are not supposed to be in these positions. I got a video on my channel. If you go in the live section, I made a live about that, why women shouldn't be in leadership. Because a lot of time, women are not logical people. Not all situations. We understand it's always an exception to the rule, but most women, they are all about their emotions. And as this brother said, one of her, because she's not the only one, but her being one of the people, the pundits of supporting this defund the police movement, has been a disaster. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm wrong, let's try to come up with another solution, this is what she do. She's very disrespectful. She's very embarrassing dealing with the black people. She embarrassed other black people such as myself, and she shouldn't be in whatever position that she in, whatever authoritative figure that she position that she in. She shouldn't be there. She should be removed immediately. And I'm sure she don't have a husband. And if she do have a husband, he's a beta male. Because why would you be letting your woman be out here out of control like this? Because guess what? She's out of control. You can see this woman is out of control. How people act in the public is a small taste of how they act at home. This woman is out of control. And once again, if she was out of control speaking facts, I at least say, you know what? She's out of control, but what she's saying is the truth. She's out of, because they got people like Candace Owens. Candace Owens is somebody who I like, I support. She's out of control. But at least Candace Owens speak truth. She speak things that it's all about helping the black community. And people would be able to put their emotion to the side for 1 second, which is a lot of time in the black community we have a hard time doing, and listen to the things she's saying, which is the same thing I'm saying, which is strengthen the nuclear family in our community, stop aborting our babies. We lead the nation in abortion. A whole generation of black babies have been killed in the womb, right? And not only strengthen the nuclear family by keeping fathers in the home, but stop killing each other. Man, black on black crime is at an all-time high and rising. And so, you know, some of these women are out of control. And like I say by Candace Owens, although she's out of control speaking truth. This woman here is out of control speaking lies, foolishness, and BS. And she have no solutions.
I'm sorry.
We're not trying to win an argument. We're trying to solve a problem here. Let me ask the question here. Isn't it true?
You wrong, Dr. Phil. That's what she is here. Black women in most situations, not all, they want to win the argument. They don't want solution. They want to win the argument. You're wrong, Dr. Phil.
That defunding pretty much across the board didn't really happen?
Yes, that's what's true.
Well,
Budgets were reduced.
New York lost $1 billion.
But at least in LA, budgets were temporarily reduced. Most of the reduction was replaced with overtime with the officers they had, or the reduction was part of a city-wide reduction. Sure. And most of the defunding diversion or reduction was regained the next year. So there hasn't really been a defunding of the
In some cases,
police.
I think, Dr. Phil, respectfully, I think in some cases budgets were reduced. I think part of the reason that some of the budgets were replaced and more money was given in because they saw the rise in crime and the rise in issues and wanted to mitigate some of those problems.
So the money came back.
And also,
some of it.
Dr. Phil, when you have 9% inflation and gas prices that were pushing $10 a gallon in Los Angeles, and you leave the police budget the same, when health care goes up, when food prices go up, and you have these,
So
everything went up. And my point is,
What's
by
your
not adding money, you're just defunding them just by
Why is
regular
the answer to
economics.
those problems police?
And adding money from where?
We-
Law enforcement in every major municipality across this country has the majority of the general funds. And I'll tell you all this. Anything you want, from fixing potholes to cleaning up your parks, when your electeds tell you they don't have the money, it's because badges and guns have that money.
Today, Dr. Phil, it's
That's a lie, man. That's a lie. That's a lie, man. I want to be clear on that. Do your research. That's not the truth, what she just said.
chaos. We don't have enough police. Right now, we should be at around 230, 240 for a population of 72,000 people. We're barely at 175. There's chaos at night. There's fires. There's shootings and stabbings. It's a dangerous area. Even city employees are being attacked.
I want to introduce y'all to a man who wouldn't even be sitting here today if it weren't for the police. He says he once feared the police until one talked him off the ledge, literally. He now dedicates his life to advocating for suicide prevention and law enforcement. So, Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you, sir. Thanks for having me.
You had a life-changing experience with
Absolutely,
the
I
police.
did.
What happened?
March 11, 2005, I was overwhelmed. I had spent 22 years not dealing with my pain, lying about who I was. Born and raised in Oak, California, never talked about mental health, never talked about anything that had anything to do about feelings, emotions, and I got overwhelmed that day. And I drove myself to the Golden Gate Bridge, and on that day, I literally got out there. The only thing that stopped me was that officer, who I never even know. At the time, I didn't even know he was an officer. I thought he was a human being. Later on, got to meet him 8 years later, and found out he was an officer, and it changed my perspective of how I looked at law enforcement. I used to call them cops, now I call them law enforcement, because I realize they are human beings and they're flawed, and they make mistakes, but they're not trained.
Great story, brother. Great story, my brother. Great story. Hopefully, God find you and you find God and y'all create a relationship. Cause that's what you need. No such, where's the such thing as mental health, but only help for that mental health is the Most High, and reaching out to Him, and being born again, and that mental health gonna die with the old you as you gonna be a new creature. But this is a great story, but not so much as a great story. I wanna um say go off something that he just said, and he said that we gotta understand that police are, as I said this already in the beginning of the video, police officers are not perfect. They make mistakes. They get in their feelings, right? And here it is. The next thing about that is, um, we have to understand that police officers are not these immortal people. Jesus walking the earth. They're not immortal people. Some of them not Christian. Some of them are racist. Some of them did get on the police force to avenge when they was getting bullied in school. Not all, not a lot. I say most of them are good people, but they do have a small percentage of them that's racist. They do have a small percentage of them that want to avenge being bullied and they was in school. They do have a small percentage of them that's not Christian, don't believe in God, so they have evil and stuff in their heart. But for the most of them, they're people. They just like you and me, and they get in their emotions, right? They get in their emotions, and sometimes they do make bad decisions, right? And for example, the situation happened with Breonna Taylor. Whenever that situation took place, they knocked on the people's door, and the Breonna Taylor boyfriend at that time shot through that door and ended up hitting an officer in the leg. The other officers kind of got upset about that, and one of his fellow officers just began shooting wild in the house and ended up killing Breonna Taylor. But my thing, I'm saying that to say this here: he knew he shouldn't have did that. He was wrong for doing that. But like any other body, like any other person, he seen his friend, his colleague hurt, and he lost it, right? And a lot of time, with these police officers, they already super scrutinized, um by these liberal media outlets and by certain communities and liberal whites, and so they already on edge. And now here it is, they pulling you over and you telling them what they shouldn't be doing and couldn't be doing, and they get and they feeling you arguing with them and doing all that, like I said about the George Floyd situation. That cop didn't want to kill George Floyd, but what happened was he made that cop upset, and so now the cop is going off. Now his policing have been put to the side with him being human now. And his main thing was holding his knee on George Floyd back. His thing was that he wanted to put his knee in George Floyd back as hard as he could. And so when George Floyd went to that cell, he was gonna have some back pain, some serious back pain. But by him not paying attention to what he was doing, George Floyd being such a big of a person and was constantly moving, he didn't understand that his knee was constantly sliding to the final. It was on the back of his neck, which had his windpipe smashed to the ground. So when George Floyd was saying he can't breathe, which is an age old saying, we all see that. We've all been in position. Well, I ain't gonna say we all. Hopefully not. But a lot of people. I've been in situations where the police put his knee on my back, and we might say, "Man, the cuff's too tight, or I can't breathe." That just that, but we not. That's not the truth. We just saying that. And so I'm sure this cop have heard this millions of times over his career, so he didn't take it. And our George Floyd had already gave him a hard time. So once again, his policing had been put to the side, and now he in human mode. He mad, he upset, and he trying to make George Floyd pay. In the long run, which I mean, when he go in that cell and wake up in the morning, a lot of times you don't feel the pain till the next morning, because when you bucking against the police, in most situations you under the influence, and so this police then had the knee in your back and you don't even feel it. But when you wake up in the morning, you sober, you in mad pain, and that's what his intention was doing. But when George Floyd was saying he couldn't breathe, he really couldn't breathe this time. But he ignored them, and now he paying for it. So his intention wasn't just to kill George Floyd. That's why he got charged with manslaughter. What manslaughter is to inflict bodily harm but not kill, and the person just end up dying. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to inflict bodily harm on George Floyd, and George Floyd just end up dying. That's why he got manslaughter and not murder. But 22 years he got to think about what he did, and he got out of character. But I'm saying that to say that if we would not push these cops to do that, and sometimes I'm gonna be honest. But this happened to me once. Out of all the times I've been put over by police, one time I got put over by police, and I don't know if he was racist, I don't know if he was having a bad day, but he was just on one. And he even took me to jail for, I ain't gonna say he took me to jail for nothing, but he took me to jail for something that I didn't do. I was guilty, but I wasn't guilty of what he said. And I just went to jail, took care of the situation, and but I made it. I didn't get beat up, and I didn't get killed. Even though I knew he was treating me unfairly, I went to jail. You know what I'm saying? And I took care of it after the fact. But I'm saying that to say, you going to have these situations where, like I say, it's a small percentage of them that's racist. It's a small percentage of them that having a bad day. It's a small percentage of them that's trying to avenge for being bullied, so they want to go be a police officer. It's a small percentage of those type of people. And every now and then, you are going to run into them if you're a person who commit crime and you're a person who or if you're not a person who commit a crime. Because I remember one time I got pulled over when I was a kid with my family on a family trip, and they took us out the car and took all our clothes, went through the clothes. This was for nothing. We didn't do nothing. My father was a pastor, and so I'm saying all that to say it's gonna be certain time where you might have a bad experience, but you take that bad experience and you follow direct verbal orders. And if it's a bad experience to the point where your rights have been violated, get badge numbers, get names, and you take care of it that way. Do not hold court on the street, because in most situations it's not going to turn out for your benefit. But I just want to credit this brother, and I wanted to stop this to build on what the brother said. He gave a good story about how all police not bad, but most importantly, he said something that was very important, that police are people, and a lot of times we don't judge them as they people. We think that they these immoral people. They people just like you. And when you go to work every day, whatever job you do, whatever career profession that you are in, when you go to work and you're dealing with a customer, the customer give you a hard time, it does not make your day better. And in some situations, you're going to give them a hard time as well. Maybe not in all situations, but in some situations. If you dealing with a customer, whatever the situation is, and they giving you a hard time, you're going to give them a hard time. And it's just that simple.
Key word of what he said, they're not trained for certain things. They're trained to supposedly handle situations, but they're not trained to handle how they feel about themselves. They're trying to figure out their own lives along with having this job that expects them not to be human. And I think that we have to understand their point of view too. Now that I've been on both sides of it.
So how long did this stranger talk to you?
92 minutes.
Oh, specifically.
Yes, 92 minutes.
And he got you to walk away.
Phil, could I just speak to that for a second with law enforcement? Because most police officers die because of suicide that are on duty. They don't die because they're hit by a car. They don't die because they were shot by a suspect. They take their own lives. And when you defund the police, you prevent them from having enough money to provide themselves with the mental health services they need.
I'm sorry, law
Exactly
enforcement
like
officers we make so much money. We've got officers in Oakland that are making between $350.
Once again, interrupted this brother. Nobody else is doing this. Who is doing that? The angry, loudmouth with no solution black woman. Liberal. I guarantee. Well, I know guarantee she's liberal. Clearly she's liberal. Black conservative don't act that way. This is a black liberal woman, which is the main problem with the black. Well, not the main problem, but that's one of the biggest problems in the black community: liberalism. Whether it be a black man or black woman, and a lot of black men today are liberal because they being raised by these liberal single mothers. So she's angry. She got a lot going on. She needs deliverance, but she's a liberal, big mouth activist with no solutions.
$420,000 a year. And brother, I'm so glad you were sitting here and that was your experience. The facts are, however, that upwards of 50% of people that are murdered by law enforcement are in the middle of a mental health crisis.
What your question is presuming is a world as it exists currently, right? And so when I say, oh, I don't believe there's a need for police, what I'm saying is that there has been so little investment in creating the conditions under which police would not be necessary, and that is the issue. That is the holistic issue, and people are creations.
Clearly, this brother, he's an effeminate man. Or if he not, I don't want to judge nobody, and I'm judging him wrong. He may not be gay, but you can see he got a lot of feminine energy in him. And this brother is talking about a situation where the police won't be notified. If he come home to his home late night, you can see this brother what type of brother he is. If this brother was to come home at his house and they got a black person in a hoodie that he don't know, he's gonna stay in his car and call the police. Let it go, brother.
Of the society in which they live in. And if you are a society that has such massive inequality, and you are a society that is based on racial and gendered hierarchies, and you are a society that deprives people of the resources that they need to live, talking about housing, clean water, food, all of these things that are part of an equitable society, you're talking about people that will do desperate things in order to survive. And so you're not
Once again, brothers, once again, sisters, a loud mouth with no solutions and lie. They will not only gotta watch these activists with they loud mouths with no solutions, they will lie. They will lie to make their argument seem right. You talking about people in desperate situations. Okay, so you in desperate. This kind of remind me of the crack epidemic in the 80s. People would always the white man, the white man, the white man, the white. Okay, I don't care if the blue man brought the crack in the hood. So you telling me that you was doing so bad that the black man, the blue man, the green man, the white man put the crack in your hood. You picked up the crack, sold it to your own people, and enriched yourself while destroying them, and that's the white man's fault? No, 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 no. Listen, man, if I'm doing bad and I'm broke. I don't got a penny. I don't know where I'm gonna get my next meal come from. And a guy rob a bank, and he come running down the street with all these bags of money and say the cop after me, and he come to my doorstep and say, just let me in, I'm gonna give you half of it. Listen, I got an opportunity right then to either get half of this money and deal with the consequences, because he told me he's on the run from the police with. So if they see him at my house, I get harboring a fugitive, and hell, I might even get accessory after the fact. I know that I'm doing bad right now, but I also know that he's doing it. He's committing a crime. So either I got two opportunities. I can say, look, man, I don't want nothing to do with that. Go on about your business, and I don't got nothing to do with that. Or I can say, yeah, come on in, give me half of the money, and I'll deal with the consequences later. And so that's what happened in the 80s with the crack epidemic. It's nobody's fault. But once again, brothers, once again, sisters, this is what we have in our community. And this is why we not getting nowhere. Because it's everybody else's fault. It's justifying our issues. It's justifying the issues that we have in our community. And it's not helping. Okay, yes, we have situations in our communities where it's poverty stricken and people are desperate. But why is that? Whose fault is that? This is what we gotta always deal with. What we gotta always deal with is the root cause of situation. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because a lot of these is being raised by one parent, and these women is constantly having babies out of wedlock, and they struggling in these neighborhoods. And these kids, they gotta work hundreds of hours a day, and a lot of these women, they come home from these jobs, they don't cook for their children, they don't do nothing for their children. They dealing with mental ill issues. All they care about is a lot of them smoking, getting high, or if not that, drinking. And so the 12 hours they at work, the rest of the hours they at home, quote unquote, self-medicating themselves, whether it be liquor, drink, or whatever drug of choice. And the children are out doing whatever they want to do, terrorizing the community, selling dope, breaking in people's houses, stealing, and doing all this type of stuff. And so this is why the communities are like they is. It's not nobody else's fault. It's not nobody else's fault. So in other words, for him, instead of him saying, hey, you know what? And then once again, brothers, once again, sisters, listen, listen, black communities are not the only communities in the United States that are poverty stricken. I'll take you to Pasadena, Texas. I'll take you to some ports in California where they got nothing but Mexicans, and I'm talking about they eating out trash cans. It's so bad. No crime. Oh, it's crime, I'm gonna say, but it's very little crime, and the crime that they doing is drug use. They not killing each other like flies, and the cops don't gotta. The cops, the cops patrol the area because the cops patrol the area. But it's not no massive crime going on. Same thing with these trailer parks. Trailer parks. I don't know if they got them all over the world, but I know I'm from the South, and all over the South they got trailer parks. Now all trailer parks is not poverty stricken, but they got some trailer parks that's so poverty stricken that they don't even have air conditioning. They use box fans that's in the window like air conditioning. It's that bad, right? No crime going on besides drug use. You know what I'm saying? And stealing. They stealing. Going to areas or going to the store and stealing stuff and reselling it and stuff like that. There, but nobody getting killed and people ain't dropping like flies. And the cops don't really be having to be that much around there. They got to be around there and patrol because they got to patrol every area. But it's not like what's going on in the inner cities where black people live. It's not the same case. And then you have guys like this, once again, who ponder to the black people and say, hey, we got all this going on, bad water, this, that, and the third. Whose fault is this? Right? No solution. No solution. Just a whole bunch of big mouth loud talking. No solution. I'm going to let this brother finish.
Solving anything by arresting those people. You are not solving anything by shooting and killing those people.
I agree with you 100% on society's failures about how that person became a criminal. My point is we also live in the here and now. And if someone invades my home and has my wife held hostage in the bedroom tonight,
Sure.
I don't give two about where they came from tonight. What I care about is a solution tonight. That doesn't mean that we don't need to solve the problem so my grandchildren don't get held hostage in their bedrooms 20 years from now. But when you say we don't need...
Thank Dr. Phil for saying it like you said it. You took the gloves off of that one, Dr. Phil. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Phil.
Police because of developmental failures, that doesn't solve the problems that are occurring tonight, tomorrow night, the next night. Those things have to be done.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. Now, once again, I can't wait to see this brother's response, but as we know, they big mouth with no solution. So 9 times out of 10, like all liberals, either they gonna get overly emotional or it's gonna be you can hear a mouse piss on cotton. That's what happens to these liberals.
I hear you. I truly, and I'm not being facetious. I hear you. That is the fear that continues to drive us toward more policing.
No, that is the reality in which we live. That's not a fear.
Yes,
fear
it is
the
fear
anxiety or anticipation of something that may happen.
There.
What I'm describing is something that is happening, and we have to have guardrails. We have to have someone to turn to. We have to have someone on the end of 911.
I don't think that you can just land all those racial issues and put them on the police department itself. Because police departments recruit from society. And in fact, I would argue that there are much more stringent vetting of police officers than, say, your school teachers, your medical doctor, your bus driver, your postal worker.
All of those other professions do not have the ability to make a decision in a half a second of whether they're going to shoot somebody or not.
But
and
they
that's
have
the
the
difference.
ability
Lori,
to,
actually, for bringing us back to the point, because
Yeah.
I want to do something
But
I
they
should
do
have
have
done
the
at the top of
ability
the
to
show.
affect the
Natasha
life
McKenna,
They absolutely
you're
do.
right.
Once again, brothers, sisters, can you see what I'm telling you? See this woman, the same woman, I don't remember her name, and I don't care to remember it. She's doing it again. She's once again interrupting the other black woman who was a former chief of police, so she understands what Dr. Phil just said. She understands what the brother, the white man to her left, was saying. And you got this liberal white in the crowd who said what she just said, which she actually did say some truth. Because the chief of police, the black lady who's the chief of police, she said that we get these people out of society, and then she said, well, yeah, But the difference between them and other professions is they got to make a split second. Yes, because and also the difference between the difference between police and other professions. You don't call those other professions when your house getting broken into. You don't call those other professions when you feel you in danger. You call the police, man. But these, like I said, liberal whites is the biggest. They more of a problem than the liberal black for the simple fact that liberal whites actually have power and resources, right? And if you know these are the ones who was at the BLM marches, and these are the ones who have bought into the lie that black people are dealing with what they dealing with because of slavery and systemic racism, and cops kill blacks just because they black and not because they commit more crime. So she's a liberal white. So she's a bigger one of the big. She's a part of the bigger one of the biggest problems in the United States. Malcolm X told us about the liberal white. And if you're not familiar with that, go look up Malcolm X talking about the liberal white.
Rashario Mack, Oscar Grant, Mario Woods. I could go on and on because what I do every day, is whole.
What you do every day is can't deal with your emotions. Probably try to find a husband, and I don't think nobody checking for you with the way you look. Just to be honest, man, because I hate to say that and go post-humanist, but she's kind of pissing me off. And the reason why is because she's a problem in my community. She's a cancer in my community, and people like her need to get rid of. And I'm not talking about get rid of her life. She need to get put somewhere in her house and shut up. And nobody need to listen to her. They need to take all her resources and anything that she have that can give her a voice. They need to take that away from her and let her just go be in the house somewhere with her grandchildren if she got any, or with her children if she got any. I'm sure she don't have a husband because she's completely out of control. She's completely disrespectful. She's overly emotional, which I'm not surprised, and she's super liberal with a big mouth of lies and a bunch of pondering with no solutions.
Or listen to or comfort women that have been raped and families that have lost their loved ones to the unthinkable. That is what happens. And so when we talk about law enforcement's humanity, I understand we need to have that conversation, and I'd agree that we need to deal with their trauma. But when they're having a human moment,
Right.
that far too often means we end up dead.
But let me explain something that's going to happen if you defund the police. Some other organization is going to take over the responsibility. It's either going to be a gang, organized crime. It could be anybody. But if you defund the police and you have people feeling less safe in their neighborhood, somebody is going to patrol that neighborhood, and you may not like what they do.
Desmond, what do you want to say?
We need to be, in my opinion, as somebody who studies education, a little bit more careful. Because I know it's hard to remember, but we actually are on the same side here. Do we want a safer community? Same side as far as my concern, right? So it's now gotten to the point, though, where there is so much unedited discourse that you're worsening the problem based on how we're talking, right? We have defund the police. We have somebody in education. I have students saying, oh yeah, we do not need a police force at all right now. There is a here and now where we do need police force. There's also preventative measures that we can take in education, right? That can prevent these things from happening in the first place. Is working together that out of the question?
When you've got law enforcement agencies that target people like me with misinformation and lies and put targets on our back, I don't know how then I sit down at the table with that person.
Do you have a story or a question for me?
And as you can see there, brothers and sisters, this black lady with the dreadlocks, you can see she's a very miserable soul, and she's a problem. Like I said, I have a big issue with people like her, not because she's a female, not because she's black. I love my black women when they're in their right state of mind. They are very, very beautiful and essential to our community. But clearly this woman has, first of all, her years of beauty, if she ever had any, has long passed her up. And at this point, she's been a problem to the community. Just like these black feminists. You know, a lot of these black feminism, you can look at them and you can see why they are feminists. You know what I'm saying? They hard to look at. And they all cancers to our community. We need to get rid of them. And once again, I'm not saying get rid of them as a take their life. I'm talking about get rid of them with having a voice, because their voice is voiceless, and what it does is it ponders to a group of people who already is in bad situations, which is the black community, and it makes them feel that it's not their fault. Same thing with the feminist movement, but I'm gonna talk about that. That's another video for another day. But this woman is a complete She's complete. She's the thing that's coming out of her mouth is asinine. She got all this anecdotal evidence of what she's saying, which is, is something that has to be put to the fire because she's doing nothing but probably lying. She's overly emotional and speaking on probably one or two situations that she's going over her whole life. You can see she's clearly in her 50s or 60s. And so she need a husband. She'll need a strong alpha male to put her in her place because she's completely out of it. And that's not a problem, her being out of her place. The problem is she have a voice. The problem is she has a platform. The problem is people who listen to her and probably support what she's talking about because they have actually bought into her lies. And it's an issue going in the black community. But to end this video, defunding the police is the worst thing that can ever happen to America, especially the black community where most of all crime happens in America. Um, and instead of defunding the police, we need to, help police get their mental health because once again, like the brother said, they have mental health issues. They go through a lot with that. That's just being a listen, man. I'm a pretty brave guy. I don't, I'm one of those guys who I don't feel like I'm afraid of anything. But being a police would be something that I would kind of be afraid of. Every day you wake up and you don't know if you're gonna return home because it may be somebody on the street who is mentally ill that decides to shoot me or decide to make me put my job on the line by shooting them. So, just being a police officer, especially the way they scrutinize and demonize in this society, it could be very hard on somebody mental health, and everybody not strong. You know what I'm saying? So defunding the police is completely stupid. It's completely I'm trying to find a word. It's backwards. It's not only not gonna help, but it's gonna make things worse. Not for just the police, but for the community that they serve. And so we need to make some kind of situation where we can add funding to the police for them to get the thing that they need, whether it be mental health services or better training, better on field, on site training, better hands on training to deal with certain situations, how to deal with certain situations, and not always, reach for the gun if they don't really have to. But a lot of time it happens because they scared, they're afraid, and the first thing that they line of defense is grab the gun. And it's always not the best thing to do. It's other forms or way that they could have fixed that situation. So that's all I want to say. And like I said, this is going to be another entry, my fifth entry in message to the black community, because this is a situation that must be had. This is a conversation that must be had in the black community, and we must focus on fixing ourselves, and so we don't have to be police. We must focus on strengthening the nuclear family, so that way children can have a father in the home, right? To teach them authority, to teach them what it's like to be raised under authoritative figures. So if they do have a situation where it's just a traffic stop and they deal with a police officer that have whatever kind of attitude, they do understand that he's an authoritative figure and do what he's saying versus argue with him. And in most black communities, police is demonized anyway. You know what I'm saying? It been like that. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop doing it. We got to stop treating police as if they any different than a doctor or any different than anybody else in anybody else's profession. They are people and they not perfect. They have issues just like everybody else, but we must respect them because they are, for the most part, like I say, for the most part, you have a small percentage of them who is racist. You have a small percentage of them who are trying to just avenge some some being bullied their whole life, but for the most part, they are here to protect and serve, and they are here to help us make our community safer. And we need more of them, not less of them. And so I want to thank y'all for listening to me, and God bless.